Sharks in the pool, that is not cool. I need the tools, take me to school. Feet first into this league, me first, that cannot be. Under the underdog, Monica G. Feeling a whole lot better suddenly. I get in with it, winning again. You're 1 and 2 in the bag, and I'm going for 3. That is the beat down. God of the best, so I keep. Now, y'all treading water for weeks. Now I'm the shark, so I eat. Now, look, I am not sorry. I understood the pun from which I started. And navigating these drafts is cathartic. So, thanks for the invite to party, yeah. Dynasty Underdog, bite down. Up at the day and the night. Now, easy as flying a kite. Now, come take a look at it right now. Dynasty Underdog, bite down. Up at the day and the night. Now, easy as flying a kite. Now, come take a look at it right now.
Welcome to episode 140 of Dynasty Underdog. Billy Beeman here as always. You can catch me on Twitter at WillyBeemanDFF. No Joshua Uriah this week, unfortunately, but honestly, I'm super stoked for this episode because I get to bring on my good buddy at Fantasy Blue Chip on Twitter, Jagger May. How you doing, man?
Pretty good. Super hyped to get on here and talk with you. Haven't talked all season, so.
Dude, we've been working on DFF stuff, you know.
Yep.
Been doing stuff in the background. We've been on Discord. Talking, chopping it up about film here and there. But yeah, we haven't hopped on here, and I really, really wanted to bring you on, and we're going to talk about some film stuff, and we're going to get really deep into it probably. But there's one or two things I want to talk about, some news and nonsense like we always do. I want to talk about before we get into that. So real quick, is there anything you want to talk about that you're getting into before we hop into this stuff? I mean, I got to give you the floor a little bit here.
Oh no, man. Like I said, nothing new with me. I'm like you. I've just been like in the a quote unquote like Biden in the basement, you know, like with like film reviews, dude. Like that's all I've been doing. Like I haven't even put out a video, anything else, because I'm just waiting to get out of draft purgatory. Like I need the NFL draft to happen so I can move on with my life. So
I get it, dude. Last night might be the first time I went to bed before like midnight because I've been just up late, like grinding film. You know what I mean? Just like really trying to get through a bunch of these guys, and I like to watch a good bit. So, yeah, man, I'm with it. I'm there with you. I need this draft to come here, and it couldn't come fast enough. So, all right, real quick, news and nonsense. Let's get into it. OBJ to the Ravens. This is a pretty big one. I feel like one of the bigger offseason stories. How do you feel about it, man? Like, what do you think about him as a dynasty asset, and what do you just think about the situation in general?
It makes me feel better about Lamar staying. That's about it. Like him as a dynasty asset, I think if you're just desperate for a receiver, then like OBJ is your guy. He probably won't cost you more than a second, and you know that's a little high for me to pay, but I get the value in it. Like if you like go get OBJ, but I still don't think he's like a long-term asset, and you're playing redraft with him like he's a running back. You know, you have him for this year, and then you just need to consider him either something that you're going to trade really soon, or if not, you're going to let him retire on your roster probably. So
right, and that's like, see, that's why I'm not really into paying that second for him. I'd almost rather use my second with something else and go get something with a little more long-term value. So yeah, I get it. Do you really think it's like, does Lamar really look at this like, yeah, OBJ? Like, is he really excited about this, do you think?
I don't know, man. Like, it's hard for me to get in the psyche of these NFL players, and they're like, they're close together, obviously, and they talk and hang out and are friends. So it could be a lot of value for him. But like where we're at objectively, it seems lazy. Like it's not like a long-term option. You know, it's not like Justin Herbert getting, you know, Mike Williams or Keenan Allen. It's not like Josh Allen getting his Stephon Diggs. This is a Band-Aid. You know, I think it's a Band-Aid. So I don't know. If I was Lamar, I'd be like, real cool, man. Good luck. Yeah, y'all be safe though.
That's what I mean. That's what I mean, because it's like, is this even a short-term fix? Like, we don't like this is off 2 ACLs now. You know what I mean? Like, I like OBJ as much as the next guy, the player, but man, I don't know if that's what we're getting here. So I do like you said, I think it's a little bit lazy on their part. I don't know if it keeps Lamar there. And I'm not all that into the dynasty asset that is OBJ at this point. So yeah, if I have him, I'm definitely trying to move him off of the hype for sure. I think that's the move. Okay, we're Patriots fans, so I know that I've said some really nasty things about Mac Jones in the Discord chat, and you're like I got to get out of here. I can't even do this. So I got to get your thoughts on just Mac Jones. And I saw this quote from Bailey Zappi saying, "I'm taking full advantage of any opportunity at the QB1 position." Right. So, I don't know if that means he's been told you have the opportunity or he's just reading the tea leaves, whatever it is, but I'm pretty down on Mac Jones. Do you have some hope for him? Like, what do you think of him in general?
I'm officially down. Like I was just
Okay.
go buy Mac Jones because
Mhm.
he costed nothing. And
Mhm.
now I'm just like, go sell Mac Jones for nothing. Like go get the nothing, man. Because that nothing,
Okay.
like what is that like mayonnaise commercial turning something into or nothing into something? Like that's where Mac Jones is. Because like, I can't. We've talked about this. You got to divorce yourself from being a fan when you're an analyst. And with any other quarterback, I'd be like, like you got to get out. Like I personally think that there's still a lot left on the bone for Mac Jones because all the other things that I've heard, he called Alabama and that pissed Bill Belichick off. I believe it. I've seen this man be so petty over the most minute bullshit that I believe it, or it could be complete. It could be again just bullshit. I don't know.
Yeah.
I'm at the point where I don't want a part of it. Like I have a couple of leagues where I have Zappy and Mac Jones because like if you can do the quarterback handcuff, they costed me nothing. Like Bailey's off Zappy was a third, Mac Jones was a second. I'm like, cool, I get mediocrity regardless. Whoever's gonna throw the ball for fantasy production, at least I got it. Give me those 13 points a game. Yeah.
You draft for mediocrity, you get mediocrity, right? Like
yeah. Like I know what Mac Jones is. He's Kirk Cousins at the floor, and that is better than sliding in DeAndre Swift and hoping he gets 4 catches or a really big play or something in your super flex spot. He's a super flex stopgap, and I used to think he had upside, but now I don't know.
So what are you comfortable, do you think, selling him for? Like in terms of we're rookie draft season, right? We all have our rookie picks. Like Will Levis area, are you willing to like reset it? At what point, like 1.07, 1.08, like what is anyone giving that? Like, are you willing to sell him for a back end first?
I would want to use Mac Jones as I don't like Will Levis because to me, and I don't mean like I wouldn't trade Mac Jones for Will Levis because I'm like I think you're trading a question mark for a question mark. Cool, what do you got there? Right. Granted, Levis does have the higher floor because of rushing, but I believe Mac Jones is I wouldn't say a throw-in piece, but when you're going after a quarterback and you're trading him a first or some high asset, and he's like, well, I need a quarterback back. That's Mac Jones. That's where Mac Jones is.
Toss that guy over there. Here you go, buddy.
Yeah.
Can you take this off my hands while I give you this first? Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, exactly. If you want to use Mac Jones, or even let's say you got like a plethora of receivers. I legitimately had a team where I had Justin Jefferson, AJ Brown, and like Brandon Ayuk. If someone doesn't have a receiver and they got 3 QBs, and I think Uriah even has said this, he doesn't trade away a quarterback without giving something back. That's your guy. That's your guy. Here's Mac Jones. Here's your QB3 that is a starter. So I wouldn't call it sexy. It's kind of like sprinkling chives on top of ramen noodles. It's not that good. It's still kind of shitty, but it's better than nothing.
It's better. Yes. Okay. All right. I mean, I'm with you. I have real questions, man, in terms of him being able to make it past this year. So I worry for his job. I worry for him because I just don't see it with him. And with the way Belichick's talking about him, man, it just doesn't seem like there's much faith there. So I'm definitely concerned.
Have you ever seen this much controversy come out of that locker room?
No, absolutely not.
No, I mean, I'm not. I'm not talking about QB controversy because we've had 20 years of stability, but I mean, generally at this point, if there's remotely amount of smoke coming out of that locker room, you're like, well, he's done. Have fun at the Browns. With Jamie Collins,
Oh yeah, totally.
So I've never seen it, so I don't feel good.
No, the whole situation's bad. And I'm sure we could go down a whole Patriots rabbit hole here if we really wanted to. So
Oh
let's
yeah,
not
better not.
let's not hurt ourselves or the listeners. Yeah, I just had to get your thoughts on Mac Jones because I remember you giving me some shit for that. And
Oh, I'm off the
and
boat, man. I'm off.
Yo, this is what good analysts do, man. They adjust with with new information. Okay, cool, man. So I really there's not many people I think that in general anybody respects in terms of like film and stuff like that. There's some of the bigger guys out there, but I really respect your views on player film and just kind of how you look at it. I really respect your perspective. So I wanted to get more of an idea, kind of like your process. And I think just people in general don't understand how a lot of people go through their film process. So I figured we could just talk a little bit about that. And kind of what you look at and evaluate and what matters to you. So why don't you tell me a little bit about like how you do your film process and kind of like how many games do you think it takes to actually evaluate a player?
I would say every game, but that's not possible.
Yeah,
but it's just not possible. And over time, I've tried to have a structured process, so I'm not just popping on tape and then going like, "Well, this feels really good." So if let's say I get a list of a player's games, the first game I'm going to look for is if they have a top 25 game or a top 10 game. That's the first game that I want to look at. I want to see them play against the best level of competition. Then on the flip side of that, I'm going to immediately turn on a game like Western Kentucky or something like that. Shout out to Bailey Zappi. I want them to play against a terrible team on top of that, because if you think about a player like Dwayne McBride, for instance, he has a lot of production, but he come from a small school. So I think it's crucial to look at his tape. I think it was like LSU they played against or something like that. I need to look at that tape. And then if he does pretty well, that's really good. But let's say he doesn't do very well, then I can put a pin in that and say, well, I need to look at the team and the offensive line later. But I want to go look at this Western Kentucky game, and he better look like an all Madden player against a Pee Wee team. And that's what I expect. And that's just like an anecdotal look at players in general. But I try to look at bare minimum of 6 games and multiple times through those games, because that gives a decent sample size. So.
Okay, cool. I dig that. Yeah, I kind of do the same thing, and I go through them. Definitely, I do a double shot at them. I at least go over twice. Sometimes more if I like question myself. I'm like, all right, let me go back and watch it, watch him again. And I think for me, like I go and find as much tape as I can get. Right, like that's what I do. Like I just exhaust all options. I think both of us have found a Patreon that has a good source of all 22, which is like the best you can do. And then you just got to go to YouTube, I feel like, after that, and just search and dig into the depths of of YouTube.
And then like on top of that, that's just like how I'm viewing the games in general. Each one of those games, I want to, depending on the position, I need to watch 3 to 4 times. Like a quarterback, I can't, at least right now, I'm not like Lance Zierlein. I don't know how they do it. I cannot get a full scope of a quarterback's game, how they performed, until I've watched it 3 times. Because like at first, I just need to watch the quarterback's mechanics, and I need to ignore everything else. Do they have a hitch in their throw? Do they have good footwork? And that's the only thing I need to focus on, so I can be as objective as possible about that one area. And then the next game, then I can worry about, the pressure. How does he handle the pressure around there? What does he see before the snap and everything? And then by that 3rd time, I can actually worry about what's happening downfield and their processing. And then that's just 3 times. And then I have to go back. Like Anthony Richardson, with the small sample sizes that we have, I'm like, okay, I'm going to watch all 10 of these plays 40 times.
Dude, the quarterbacks are particularly hard. And I agree with you. It's hard to evaluate multiple attributes or skills like at the same time like that. You do really have to segment it down and kind of watch per game and get through it. That they're by far the toughest position for me, and I'd say the most difficult by far to evaluate. Like the rest of them, I think you can get a really good grasp in a number of
Yeah.
ways, but quarterbacks are a little bit tougher. Before we keep going here, we actually have a listener question. Do you think Curtis Samuel will still have fantasy or still have value in fantasy?
What is value?
Like, can I trade him? Maybe.
Yeah.
I don't think he's going to have value in fantasy, like on
To
my
me,
team.
he's running back category, to be honest. Like, I had Curtis Samuel. He popped for like 3 or 4 weeks, and he was a usable asset. During that time, I was knocking on every door. Like, you guys want him? It's Curtis Samuel. Remember him? Curtis Samuel. So to me, that's why I'm saying he's redraft, because it's going to be hard to get anything higher than, even when he's at his best, to me, it'd be hard to get a second rounder out of some people. And that's just with my anecdotal experience. So,
yeah. All right, cool. Back into the film. So what traits, I know, and we can go like by position if you want, and we can go by like skill positions, but like what traits matter to you the most? Like, how do you do they all matter the same to you and you're just trying to evaluate per trait, or do some matter more to you?
some matter much more than me, because one position that I find, to me, I think it's one of the easiest positions to scout, yet I have the most pushback with the community, is the wide receiver position.
Okay.
To me, it's very obvious of what makes a good receiver, yet everyone wants to find different things and argue with that. To me, are you a good craftsman, a route runner that can create and get open on your own? That is the fundamental basis. All the other things they want to talk about, downfield speed, are they good yak? Okay, those things matter, but ultimately, before you get the ball in your hands, matters more than anything for a receiver. So that's why, like Quentin Johnston, I'm not, when I see I'm lower than him, I'm not saying you shouldn't draft Quentin Johnston or he's garbage or he's Jalen Reagor, but people don't bake in the realistic risk in taking a player that I don't find as a nuanced route runner. That's how the NFL is moving. And I think a lot of that is old school mentality needing to adjust, because I've seen on Twitter people get excited saying that, well, he's Des Bryant. Okay, that's like a shit selling point for me, because Des Bryant would not last in today's NFL. Like, you guys think about it. He fell off fast, man.
Yeah, I was about to say he barely lasted in that NFL.
Like, did he make it a rookie contract or something like that? Because like, he was a stud and then he died.
And then
why?
He wasn't. Yes, I agree.
You know what? He was not a good route runner. He was not a good route runner, and he was a far superior athlete, and all the things that Quentin Johnston was that people say he was good at, Des Bryant was superior at, and he fell off because the NFL has adjusted. Then on top of that, you want to talk about QB traits. This is a good time to talk about Anthony Richardson versus Malik Willis, because again, for fantasy, rushing is ideal, but what got people in trouble with Malik Willis, we just saw athleticism, but we didn't look at the traits of what makes a good quarterback, and that is processing. Processing matters more than anything. Even to me, arm power, throw power, if you cannot process or see the field, I do not think you have long-term success in the NFL. We see that with Sam Darnold. We see that with Zach Wilson. They've got all the talent in the world, but they process so poorly that it doesn't matter. And that is where we get into the difficulty in the quarterback position, because that takes looking at the game as a football guy and not as a fantasy guy, where we look at stats and tables and scatter point graphs. And I'm not hating that on that. That is incredibly important, but we don't think of it as a game with strategy, like okay, this guy did all these numbers in college, but he doesn't even understand what he can't even process the RPO at the NFL level, meaning that he can't see what the secondary is doing. He's going out there like it's Madden and they're throwing out, 4-3s, 4-3 formation with cover 3 the entire time. And that's just not how the game is. And then we'll move to things in a running back. This is a Devin Achane conversation, where we fall in love with speed and what made them good in college, and how does that translate into the NFL. We discount things like vision. Evan Nashane is fast, but to me, he doesn't even have like great lateral agility. And then we talk about players like Dwayne McBride, where he's not going to be hitting the edge and Chris Johnsoning it. He's going to be pounding it through the middle, but that is effective. Remember Ramondre Stevenson? Like, like you don't have to be fast to be an effective NFL running back. So I don't know if that was rambly or any of that made sense or not, but.
No, it was exactly where I wanted you to take it. No, it was perfect. It really was. I think I totally agree with you. And you started on the wide receivers and you slowly got through all the other positions, which was perfect.
Mm-hmm.
I really, really agree with you that certain traits matter more, and especially with the wide receivers, it drives me absolutely mad the way that people evaluate wide receivers and don't place importance on the fundamental aspects of it, which are the route running and the technique, right? Like that's the basic thing I look for. And if you can start there, then your grade might, just even out, and we'll see if it can elevate from there. But at the very least, you need to start with that baseline. I totally agree. I love that. Okay. So I figured, we'd just kind of do some more rambling and just talk about a couple specific players. And see, just get your thoughts on just kind of like film, just what you see on film and what you think. And I'll give you obviously some of my thoughts as well, but I want to hear mostly yours. And by the way, if I cut out here all of a sudden, just wait for me. I'll be back. Sometimes that happens. My internet is crazy here and I can't do anything about it, unfortunately. It's like, I'm like locked into this internet sucks. So just want to let you know that, but all right. So you already talked about Quentin Johnson. So, I mean, if you want to pound him a little bit more, because we already saw that, you're not a big fan of him. And I'm not really either. I think that he lacks some of the fundamental things that we talked about. We can move on to Parker Washington, because I think this guy doesn't get talked about at all. And I want to know what you think about him, because I watched him on film and I was pretty impressed. I thought that he had a skill set that could really translate to the way the NFL uses receivers. I thought he was a really tough player, and that kind of matters in this league, and he's just kind of built the way that he can sustain hits, I think. So what do you think about Parker Washington?
I'm with you that I agree that he has I could see a role for him in the NFL. And I think he's going to start as like a special teamer, but like you said, he's tough, and he reminds me like his build is like maybe not the same size, but he's compact and built like a running back. So if you could get the ball in this guy's hands, like, I mean, that's like 10 yards. Where I don't like him, again, let me rephrase that. I do like him. What keeps him from being elite or a guy that I'm going to hyper target is that he lacks a little bit of refinement and nuance, but that's hopefully something that a good team can get the best out of him. He looks like a 49ers guy to me, because he does all the things
that would be nice.
Like he's versatile. He can do a lot of what Kyle Shanahan wants. Underrated trait. He's a good blocker. 49, that matters to Kyle Shanahan. I don't know. So like to me, if like fourth or fifth round, he sees a 49er, it's going to make me higher on him, because I think that's a system that's going to get the best out of him. Because to be honest, Deebo Samuel isn't the most nuanced route runner or anything like that, but they are able to scheme him and get the best out of him.
Okay. I like that. And when I just looked at my grade for him, just kind of looking, because the way I do it, I also grade out the attributes, like each one. And it's all as meaningful as like any other data point, you know what I mean? But what I've tried to do over the years is standardize the process, just like we're talking about. But for me, he was just about average in the route running department, which I think is kind of indicative of what you were saying. But I thought he had great hands. Like he's like a really reliable guy. You know what I mean? Like he could be one of those guys, like you said, he gets in the right team, right situation. He can become he can build up into a role. So I think he slept on. I think he could be a decent pick like later in drafts.
He plays like a tight end now that you think about it. Like he's just super reliable hands, good after the catch. Like he's just like a very, very baby, like a Funko Pop tight end. Like a Funko Pop tight end.
Funko Pop tight end. Yes. Okay. All right. So we are really coming to conclusions here. Right. We are figuring out this is the analysis you need. Okay. So tell me, are you as much of a truther, I guess I'll say, as I am for Zay Flowers. I think this guy's electric.
I'm the truther, man. He's
Okay,
my wide
all right.
receiver too, and it's not even a question for me. Granted, with draft capital, that can obviously change, and
Mhm.
the players that I think can leap them the most would be Jordan Addison. If Jordan Addison goes to an ideal situation and gets the draft capital over Zay Flowers, I'm gonna put Jordan Addison over him because that's just that those are the odds and that's better process. But Zay Flowers, I don't know, like when I hate the term dog, but that's what he is, man. Watching his film, you can see how frustrated he is because he deserved the ball probably like it. I'm telling you guys, which game is it? Maybe was West Virginia. Just go watch any Zay Flowers tape and tell me you don't want to scream at the quarterback play. And this is what I tell. This is what I want to tell everyone about. Like get out of the spreadsheets a little bit. Like you don't have to be as like a film junkie as I am to see that. Holy shit, Boston College is bad. Like so bad. Where I'm surprised he didn't throw his helmet. Like to me, it's a testament to this kid's character that he just wasn't a diva the entire time, like going full Antonio Brown on this team because of how open he is. He's probably the best yak guy. He's effective both inside and outside. I think he's a quality technician in the route game. He just doesn't have the great hands, but to me, that reminds me of Deontay Johnson. Can it be a problem? Yes, but I'm willing to ignore it, So
yeah, when you get 100 targets and you drop 10, it's like, like it's okay. Like it'll be all right. Drops aren't a really big thing if you're a dynamic player and you're a really good player, and I think that's the case with him. So I'm right there with you. I love that. If you go and watch my DFF film room video, I know there's at least one time in there where I'm like, you got to feel bad for this guy because of the quarterback. Like it was so clear and obvious that through watching the tape, you're like, this guy doesn't know how to find the open receiver, doesn't know how to play. It's just the team was god awful, and he was the only bright spot in it, really.
Yeah, literally throwing him into the markers. Like it's like when I'm talking about bad, I mean I know somebody could have walked on and done a little bit.
There had to be somebody else.
Did you see the play where they motioned Zay Flowers into the backfield? And all it is a simple pitch, and he pitched it into the dirt. I'm just like this, like what?
It was really, really tough to watch, and it was very noticeable. So yeah, I'm right there with you. I think he's the guy. Paul asked me last night when we were doing the factory tour show. He was like, if they go receiver for the Patriots at 14, who do you want? And I'm like, it's got to be Zay Flowers. Like it has to be. Like that's the only. I don't really want. Like, don't do anything else if that's what you're going to do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So.
Like, I doubt JSN is there. I love JSN there.
Oh, that was my other answer, but he's not going to be there.
No, it's Zay Flowers, man. It's like I said, you watch the Pats, that he looks like a Patriots guy.
Boston College. Like, it's all written. It's written already. Like, yeah, it's meant to be. Okay, so let's move on. Let's stop gushing over Zay Flowers. What about Tank Bigsby? I'm not like down on Tank Bigsby. Okay, I shouldn't say that. I think I'm actually just reasonable about Tank Bigsby. I think that he's a really great athlete, maybe borderline elite, maybe elite, but I think he lacks some wiggle. He's a little stiff to me, I think. So creating for himself, like after the first contact, some of that I just didn't really see. So I think he's more of like a 2-down bruiser kind of guy. I don't know. What do you think about Tank? Because he's fallen towards the end of the second, and that's good value no matter what you think about Tank, really, unless you just think he's terrible, and I don't think that.
I think I'm higher than you, but I'm still reasonable. I think that he is easily my RB4 after Zach Charbonnet, but I'm still taking him at the top of the second. I'm not going to try to reach for him in the first round until I get draft capital, but a lot of that is he is the Zay Flowers of running backs. Auburn is a terrible team. Half the time when I'm watching Auburn, I don't even know what they think. Yeah. Like they don't even know what they think they are sometimes because you could see an offensive identity. When you watch Georgia, you know what you're going to get with them, and you understand what they're trying to do to you on offense. Same thing with Bama. Even when we get to Sean Tucker, I think Syracuse had a pretty shit offense, but at least I know what they want to be. But when I watch Auburn, it's like a guy trying to figure out Madden. He's just like, well, what's this play? That's how it feels.
Yes.
Because one game I watched them run, and I'm sorry, any amount of wildcat is too much for your offense. It's statistically inefficient. It's not a good offense. But there was a game where they're running it like 4 or 5 times, and I'm like, what the hell are we doing? And that's where I think that we don't see Tank at his best. I will say I agree with you that he is no Jameer Gibbs or Tajay Spears when it comes to wiggle, but I think he is efficient at making the first guy miss. And when I think when I think about traits, I think about lateral agility and then lateral burst are 2 different things. Where I think that lateral agility guys can do this like 90 to nothing. I think when it comes to burst, Tank Bigsby's jump cut is vicious. Like it almost like a couple of times I've seen it, it looks like a glitch, man. I'm just like, oh wow, he's 5 yards where he wasn't supposed to be at, and then he's gone. And he was a track star and had pedigree, so I like him, and I do think he's an every down back. They were just so bad that they can't even throw downfield to a running back, let alone an actual receiver.
Yeah, and again in the DFF film room I did on him, I noted that too. I'm like, and it was on a wildcat play. I'm like, this is awful. You can't do this. Like the amount of RPOs. Wow, I mean that's like all it was. There was no real offense that a defense had to actually like defend against. It was too simple. So I agree with you there. And again, like I my notes are exactly like makes the first guy miss every time. Like that is absolutely what he does. No doubt about it. But, I like your point about the lateral burst. That's something maybe I haven't really considered as much. And he definitely does have that. There's no doubt about it. There are some plays that you see him, he just cuts and he's gone. You're just like, yeah, like that's pretty wild because you don't see it from him. It feels like consistently, but maybe it's because he was put in such bad situations. That really could be it. So maybe I'm a little low. I definitely my rankings aren't nearly finalized, and I'll definitely adjust with draft capital. I think what's going to happen, he's going to get decent draft capital, and it's going to be unavoidable to move him up to the beginning of the second area.
Yeah, because we're in the range with like Bigsby, Tucker, Abanikanda. All those guys can leapfrog each other. I just got to know how much the NFL likes you and where you're going to play at, and then I'll tell you exactly how much I like you. Like.
So wait, you mentioned Abanikanda. I want to know your thoughts on Abanikanda.
He's as good as his landing spot because I think he has elite traits. Like what show I was on? I was like on a Club FFL or something, and I basically said that every time I watch a Abanikanda tape, I can hear every coach off Kyle Shanahan's coaching tree just climax together because like he's the type of player they want. He is he's really fast. Straight line speed. When you think about a one cut zone guy, he's a guy. He could pick the first hole and get up through there. He's not a great receiver. There's just not a lot of that on tape. He's kind of like Tank Bigsby in the fact that he doesn't have a lot of lateral agility or anything, but he can make one guy miss. So if Abanikanda goes to Miami, he could be my RB4 as much as Tank Bigsby has for that much alone. I'm just saying he is what he is because one reason right now pre-draft I have him lower, and I've explained to people all the running backs that I think can succeed and be a 3-down player regardless of situation I have ahead of time. Ahead of a lot of people, which it would be Bigsby. I think Sean Tucker can be a 3-down guy. I think Roshan can be a 3-down guy. Abanikanda is right where that cutoff ends.
This is why I bring you on, my guy.
He's a 2-down guy. So that's where that cuts off. But if he goes to Miami, I don't really care. Yeah, I don't really care.
Okay. I get it because the Shanahan offense scheme and everything. Okay. I buy what you're selling there. I'm not a huge fan though. Like he is like hit the hole and go. He can definitely do that. But I think that's like his game and that's about it. So I'm not a huge fan of him.
I think he's Raheem I think he's like Raheem Mostert. If Raheem Mostert got like a facelift, an upgrade, and like like
If he was like a little lower center of gravity, maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. If
Yeah.
he's Raheem Mostert, if he didn't run straight up.
Exactly. No, I agree with that totally. That is what he is. Okay, so Sean Tucker, we got to get into Sean Tucker because actually I don't know if I've really heard or talked to many people who are as high on him as you sound and as I seem to be, which is right in that range, kind of after the guys we're talking about here. What is it you like about Sean Tucker? Because I thought he was absolutely electric. I thought he could catch the ball. I thought that he had at least average to maybe just above average vision. Like, and I know people kind of kill him for his vision, but I didn't think the offense was that great. I didn't think they created too much for him. So what did you think about Sean Tucker?
I've yo-yoed on him because again, this is why we watch multiple games multiple times, because high on him, and then I was low on him because I agree that I'm a believer that you should take in analytics as much as possible, and it didn't look like he had great vision. But then after you absorb everything and you know what he is as a player, you can take a step back and look at the entire team, and they, again, I alluded to this, they are slightly better than Auburn, meaning that they don't have a real offensive identity. And here's where we get into the weeds of offensive play calling and how you optimize your players. You'll hear guys, if you don't know, talk about gap scheme and zone scheme. The thing that makes a zone scheme really good, if you have very good, agile, strong linemen, then you can put a hat on a hat and just say, move this guy away from where we're running it, and then you have your running back pick a hole. Syracuse ran a lot of RPOs with zone runs, and they do not have the offensive line to do that. One reason why you do a gap scheme is because when you have smaller linemen that can't move people, then you want to get a lot of movement, and you're just trying to knock the defensive front off with pulling guards, and that creates a wall.
Just throwing stuff at them.
Yeah, that creates a wall that you hope that your running back can get to. They should have run a lot more gap schemes, because that would have been better for Sean Tucker. With that being said, I think he is a 3-down player, and we get the receiving upside that we wish we got with Tank Bigsby all over the place with Tucker. They used him, they flexed him out all over the place. And when you want to see versatility, there are 4 guys that stand out. Bijan, obviously, Jahmyr Gibbs, obviously, but I think Tank Bigsby and Sean Tucker are the 2 most versatile running backs outside of those guys out of the class. And that includes people that think that Tajay Spears is a great receiver, because yes, he can be a good receiver, but we don't see that,
Right. Yeah. Excuse my dog.
No, it's okay.
He barks. Okay. Yeah. I like that a lot. Am I the only one who so a big thing that I consider with running backs specifically is their build. Like, are they lower? Do they have a low center of gravity, right? Like, do they have a thick lower half? Like, that stuff really matters to me. And I feel like Sean Tucker is one of those guys who really has that. And I don't know, does that stuff matter to you? Like their gait, like how square their stance is, the ability to kind of make those jump cuts and you know what I mean? Like when you're too narrow, sometimes you can't do that stuff. Does that matter to you?
Oh, it matters 100%, because I say that,
Okay.
like soon to come out, the DFF scouting notes. I use that a lot. Like, like, do they have bend? You hear that in football a lot. Do they have bend? Because that's what gives you leverage. Even if you don't have the power, if you have good technique, then you can be moving forward. And like you mentioned it, man, Sean Tucker's got that Ray Rice build to him. Like he's a squat,
you nailed
boy,
it.
Yeah,
you nailed it. Like that's it right there. And when I see that, like if I see that and you're also like fast, I'm like, oh, okay, this can translate to the NFL, because you're like a bowling ball, and they can use you if they can develop you a little bit. And I think all of his traits are at least average, and he totally has above average traits in certain parts. So the fact that he has all that, I think if he goes to the right situation, it's kind of wheels up. So I dig it. I want to hear your thoughts on Jahmyr Gibbs. Give it to me. I'm not a big fan.
I guess it's what I hate to use the word not a big fan. I think that the correct term is that you're realistic about Jahmyr Gibbs. is that Jahmyr Gibbs is very, very good, but we've seen this profile several times. And this goes back to what I was talking about with wide receivers, is that we don't want to come to the realization of what the NFL is and what the NFL likes. And Jahmyr Gibbs seems like a guy that's going to be in a committee. And granted, I think that he can, if he gets 10 touches, I think he's going to do more with those 10 touches than a lot of running backs, but that does cap his upside. And I think he's a better runner than DeAndre Swift, which is like the obvious comp for him. But you just got to take that with a grain of salt. And as we become more of a passing league and we play faster, it's also important to be a good pass blocker. And Jahmyr Gibbs is a terrible pass blocker. He's not good. And again, this is not understanding how the NFL or play calling works, because people are like, well, they're just going to go out there and then call pass plays for him. I'm like, that's objectively untrue. That's, again, you're thinking that the NFL calls plays like Madden, where, you got a guy in the booth and he's, calling down. No, half the coaches don't even really call plays like that. They give them, here's the play set for your quarterback. Go look at what the defense gives us, and here's what I've coached you to do to make the right decision. And that values more versatile players than just your average gadget guys and plug and play. Meaning that I think it is more likely that Roshan Johnson can be a better fantasy asset long-term than, let's say, a Tajay Spears is, because of what he can offer a team, meaning that he can be out there every down, including the passing plays where he needs him to just be a chip guy. And I don't think Jahmyr Gibbs can do that. I don't think Tajay Spears can do that. I don't think Devin Achane can do that. And regardless of what they do in college, in the NFL, they're going to be playing against studs constantly. One of us froze. I don't know.
Oh, you look frozen. If I'm frozen, I don't know. Can you?
No,
hear me?
it's me. It's me.
You?
So we're gonna thug it out because it's been doing this to me.
It's all good. I mean, you could leave and come back if you want, but it's all good if you want to just keep riding.
I'll keep rolling.
Okay, cool. So yeah, like you totally kind of echoed kind of how I feel about Jahmyr Gibbs, because I'm not like low on him. He's obviously a good player, but I guess I am low on him. I see a lot of concerns with his game, and I just don't feel like I want to pay up for a Jahmyr Gibbs when I can wait for a Zach Charbonnet. I guess that's more where I'm at. You know what I mean?
Because Zach Charbonnet's like, you see a clear 3-down roll for him. It's a clear 3-down roll.
Man. He's a stud. Like, let's be honest.
And regardless of what the analytics say, and I'm not throwing them away, they matter, but I don't know. We got to do better at projecting 3-down players, because we're not doing a good job, because we keep propping up these smaller guys who aren't 3-down running backs, and we discount players like Jamal Williams. Cause like I was a pro J.K. Dobbins over DeAndre Swift guy a long time, but I got told, well, like J.K. Dobbins isn't in a receiving offense. Well, I at least know that they're going to give the ball to him 15 times. We're like, well, DeAndre Swift's more explosive than Jamal Williams. I'm like, what does that mean for an offense? Like you're throwing these words out there that, like, I get it. He is really fast, but can he run the offense the way that they want to? Like, talk to me like that. Sure. Show me your column on your spreadsheet that shows me that.
No, totally. And also, I mean, I'm not saying they're all ignoring it necessarily, but I think a lot of people will ignore the data point that he's under 200 pounds because he's 199. So they'll fudge it and say he's 200, not acknowledging that you should really be closer to 210 than 200. And that historically actually matters, unless you're Chris Johnson or Jamal Charles or some absolutely elite outlier. You know what I mean? So I think that it's, there's just, there's more to it than the spreadsheet for sure with Jahmyr Gibbs. He is a talented player. There's no doubt about it. I'm sure he's going to have some production, but I think there's other players that we'd rather have it at better values. I did a mock draft with the Dynasty Underdog Discord crew, and I think Jahmyr Gibbs went 105 over Anthony Richardson, who went 106. And
I don't agree with that.
Well, obviously, but but I think, this is the thing, like, yes, like we are very analytical about it. And I don't mean with numbers. We're just very, analytical about the whole process. And some people are just like, I don't believe in Anthony Richardson. Why would I draft him? You know what I mean? So that's going to happen.
Yeah.
And they are going to draft Jahmyr Gibbs over him. So these things will happen, but you shouldn't be doing that. You should really just, in super flex leagues, you got to hammer home the quarterback, and especially like when they have the upside of Anthony Richardson. I don't agree either, but that happens.
Or trade back, because and
yeah.
last point on Gibbs, Cody Carpentier from Player Profile made a great point on a podcast saying that their threshold is 207, and that's, I mean, you want to talk about like analytics, those guys are pretty solid over there. That like 207 is for elite fantasy, consistent in elite fantasy production. You got to have that now, So, I mean, I agree that you need to be closer to 210 than just hitting that 200 mark, because that's, this is also a Tajay Spears tweet,
Yeah. No, that's definitely a problem for him too. He can jump all over the field, but yeah, he's smaller as well. Okay, so I want to go a little deeper on some guys that I actually just talked about on the factory tour. But I want to hear your thoughts on them because nobody else talks about these guys, so I'm forcing you to. Charlie Jones and Tyler Scott, but we'll start with Old Man Jones. What do we call him? Charlie Retirement Home Jones. That's what we're calling him. How do you feel about him?
I think he's a flyer that to me, and not even a draft flyer. He's the type of guy that as soon as your waivers open up, that you're like $5, get him on the bench. Like we both like Jake Bobo. That's a guy that I'm gonna stash in my taxi squad everywhere.
Yeah, he's like 7 feet tall. It's great.
Yeah, and Charlie Jones. You want to talk about someone else who screams Patriot? He's a little light, 175 pounds, but this is a guy that could be a late round Patriots player that I'm sure as soon as he goes there, everyone else is going to be hyping him up.
You need to go watch more Charlie Jones film. I promise you, man. The kid is an awesome route runner. I'm really, really excited to see him go somewhere. I think he's definitely going to get like higher draft capital than anybody expects. At least I'd say probably round 4 to the Patriots, probably. Yeah, because we have 11 picks. I'm sure he'll go with one of those.
Well, we have 11 picks right now till we trade down and then get 14 worse. 14 worse picks or something like that.
But Belichick will be happy, so it's all good. It's all good.
Yeah, he's that dynasty player that chases value for the, just because and never wants to actually win.
Yeah. He's always trading back. He's like, oh no, it's great. I'm going to get so much value back here, and it's all just garbage. Yeah. All right, what about Tyler Scott out of Cincinnati? I like Tyler Scott, man.
I like him because Cincinnati had we forget that they had like 3 guys that were pretty good there. Like Alec Pierce came out of there. Another guy that I think he's the guys that we like, man. These are these crafty route runners that you just hope and pray for them, man. You hope they get like that one spot and they make it on the field and then earn 6 catches and then they're the instant waiver wire and then you sell them. That's kind of what I'm hoping for.
Oh no. Okay. I mean, I feel you. I think that he does have a trajectory like that. Who I think that he reminds me of in that trajectory, like not necessarily stylistically, though there's some things that maybe you could say they're similar, but Romeo Dobbs, right? Like that 4th round draft capital possibility where you're like, oh, okay, I got to pay attention now. And he goes to a decent situation like that. I think that's what we're hoping for.
Mm-hmm. Is he? This is a tiny draft. I've never seen so many receivers under 180. This is
he's
insanity.
Like Uriah was like, we did the profile on him last week, and Uriah's like, I saw 175 and I saw 180 something. He's like, I gave him the bump to like 185. I was like, Jesus, he's real small.
Yeah. And he has like a 6.3 film grade. Like if you're going on like the Lance Zierlein scale, which is pretty good.
He's
and to be honest,
actually, for his scale.
the more that I'm talking about it and like seeing that, I'm like, maybe I should move him up because those guys that are being drafted or talked about ahead of him, like I alluded that in the Discord, like Dontavian Wicks, you probably shouldn't. Yeah, you
I
shouldn't.
can't even believe that that's like a thing.
Yeah, like you shouldn't bet on Dontavian Wicks, man. Like how many quarterbacks turn receivers that make it. It's Julian Edelman. That's about it. And Jacoby Myers. Basically, do you play for the Patriots? No, probably not that good.
All right, yeah, I think we're gonna see Tyler Scott moving up, man. I really do.
Mm.
He's a guy who's a little bit better than most people think. I'm not really sure why there was a lack of production, if it had to do with Alec Pierce being there, which I guess you would say is a downside for him anyway. But one way or another, he stands out on film to me. I like him. So let's just talk about this tight end class as a whole, because I mean they're tight ends, right? Like, what else are we gonna do?
Mm-hmm.
I really like Michael Mayer. I think the guy he looks like one of the top end tight ends in the NFL when he plays. That's really what part of it is. I'm like, wow, this guy looks like he moves like one of these guys, and he can block. I think he can be all around. So I like him a lot. Like, I'm not trying to like reach for him necessarily, but I'm not in love with the Dalton Kincaids. I'm really not. I think he's Mike Gesicki type thing. Same, Zach Kuntz is very Mike Gesicki. What do you think about the tight end class? Are there any guys that you're like really interested in? Any guys that you're fading? Like, I was just talking about Dalton Kincaid, and do you like Michael Mayer?
Um, I want Sam Laporta. That's what I want at cost. Like that. I mean that's what it is. I think Sam Laporta has the same upside as Michael Mayer and Dalton Kincaid, but he has both of their traits together. Like Dalton Kincaid isn't a very good blocker, and Michael Mayer lacks a little bit of athleticism. Well, I think if you made a
Sure.
baby, you get Sam Laporta, and he's like around cheaper. I'd just rather have him around cheaper. So, Darnell Washington's another one that I like, and I understand the appeal, but excuse me, but
No worries.
again, he has zero production, so it's kind of we're kind of hoping and praying that for what, and that's not. I've mock tracked him really high just to see like the thoughts on it, and I'm kind of with the consensus that you probably shouldn't take him before the third round. I like Zach Kuntz too, but again, we're starting to get into that Kate Otten range where like these are guys that are going to be at risk of rotting on your taxi squad. Trust me, they'll be on mine. They'll be on mine, but let's just be realistic about what they are.
Yeah, totally. I'm there with you. I like tight ends at the end of the drafts for sure. But Sam Laporta, I'm with you there. He also seems to just be a really good kid, and like the way he talked at the combine, and he's a guy who, like, I feel like the Patriots would love too. He's just one of those guys, but all teams would love him. So yeah, I agree. He's definitely a guy I like a lot. Lower rank guy, lower end guy who probably not many people are talking about, who I like a lot, is Will Mallory out of I don't know if you've watched any of his tape, but his dad is I think his dad is like some position coach. I forgot what it is in the NFL, or for the Broncos, I believe it is. And his grandfather was a big time coach in the NCAA and all that. So he has like the lineage, and he just looks good. He might be just a little small, but I don't think too much. I think he's close. Have you checked out Will Mallory at all?
Yes, and I do like Will Mallory, and it's one of those things where I think I have him ahead of Tucker Kraft, because Tucker Kraft is a lot of people's like tight end 5. I just like wrapped up my tight ends this morning. Actually, like I was pretty much up all night, and I was just like, wow, I stayed up all night for Tucker Kraft. This is ugly shit.
This is my life. Oh yeah. I was doing that with the bottom ones. I'm like, oh God, am I really doing this? But
and you want to do like a good job, for integrity. But I'm just like, oh man, like Will Mallory and Zach Kuntz, they do a lot more for me than Tucker Kraft does. They're small school guys, and they look way more athletic than he does. So I need to spend more time with Will Mallory, I guess, what I'm getting at. But to be honest, out of all the tight end classes, I think this is the one where you can take a flyer during the late round or even double dip. Some leagues I'm going to double dip. I like Sam Laporta and Luke Musgrave at cost. So if I have extra thirds, I might get them both just to see what they do. And Will Mallory is definitely a fab opening day guy that I'm going to be stashing everywhere. Maybe not draft him. And to be honest, you kind of talked like a kind of segueing for you into QBs that you're in or out on. These later round QBs, like
perfect.
Like DTR. I would rather have a tight end than DTR right now.
Thank you. We actually, I got to bring this up. We have a newer member of DFF, a newer staff member at Dynasty Patrol HQ on Twitter. Big shout out. He's super enthusiastic and really into Devy, and his content's been really good. But I saw his rankings, and he's got DTR above like Will Levis, and he's like totally out on Levis and another quarterback, I forgot who. But so I just don't understand the fascination with him with DTR, and yeah, I'm totally there with you. I'd rather at that point after Hendon Hooker, I think I'm pretty much done with the quarterbacks.
Yeah, basically I like all the top 4 quarterbacks at cost. I will pay a top 5 pick for Young, AR, the top 3. I'll pay.
Yeah, I was about. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm not a Will Levis guy. Top 3 for AR, Stroud, and Young. I will pay, but I will not pay a first rounder for Levis. I won't do it. That means I won't have any shares. But for Hendon Hooker, I will pay an early second. I'll pay a 205 for Hendon Hooker, especially if he gets that first round draft capital. I might have him above Levis. He's only a year older, if probably months to be honest. So I might pay for that. I
don't care about the age of the quarterback at this point. They can last for plenty.
You're right. That's fair. I guess I care more about age just because they were older in college and not so much for their long-term value. But
he was good. It was just injury that stopped him. So
exactly. Yeah, I think I would just rather have him. DTR, I don't get, man, because we talk about combines and whatnot. A quarterback, when you throw out the combine, you have to be perfect, man. You got to be perfect. You're throwing in underwear in a scripted environment with no pressure, and DTR was not it. Would you watch that group of quarterbacks? You kind of feel bad for the guy, man, because you had even Will Levis look like a king out there, and you know how we feel about him, and DTR doesn't stick out. So to me, you're doing the whole Malik Willis thing because he's cheap, and you want to be a guy that likes. And I'm not saying you're doing that. I'm just saying that you got to be realistic of what he is as a player. So I won't be drafting him. I would maybe draft Tanner McKee if he gets a good draft spot, but just keep in mind that you're drafting Davis Mills. You're hoping that he spikes and then you're going to trade him. Yeah.
Yeah. No, I'm right there. I'm right there with you for sure. Are you trading? So if you have the 2.01 and Will Levis is sitting there, are you taking him?
Probably not, to be honest.
He went at the 208 of the mock draft we did with the Dynasty Underdog Discord, and
I feel like I'd have to at that point.
You have to at that point. I mean, I was talking about. I did a video that I just dropped today on YouTube where I just reviewed that whole mock draft. I did it for Dynasty Football Factory, and I even said there it was just a 10-team mock, and I was like I skipped on Will Levis, and I probably would have to take Will Levis if I'm being honest with myself. If it was 1.12, 1.12 at the end of the first, I just think I'd have to take him because I'm not saying I believe in him, but I just don't want it to be like a Justin Herbert thing again, where it's like you miss out on those guys. Like I just feel like they have pretty good insulated value if he gets, first round draft capital.
Yeah. And he's going to get first round draft capital. I think it's hard for me to see him falling out of the first round because there's a massive QB problem. That's why it shocked me that Jameis Winston is still a backup.
I'm with you. Yep.
Yeah, you want to think about some of the guys that are still backups. Teddy Bridgewater still in some. They're some guys are probably just waiting on the draft, and then they'll they'll start getting phone calls. But I think that he's going to be a Raider or at least a Titan, something like that. If he doesn't go to the Colts, which would be, I think, a terrible idea for them to do.
You're talking about Will Levis?
Yeah,
Or okay. No, I
Will
mean,
Levis.
those are the spots, or Levis, whatever
Yeah,
his name is, Levi's.
I think that AR is a guy that you should be chasing if you want guys that are spotty. It just makes more sense.
Yeah, I mean, if AR gets the top 5 draft capital, I'm just gonna dive in. Like I've said this before, and I feel very confident in being able to evaluate wide receivers, running backs, tight ends. In terms of what we do for quarterbacks, I'm gonna bet on elite traits in elite athletes. So
Yep.
and back it up with DC. So if those things combine, then I'll dive right in. So I think that's what I'm gonna do if that happens. All right. Are there any other guys you want to talk about from this rookie class that you don't think get talked about enough, or that you're just interested in that we didn't talk about before we hop into some trades?
Jaden Reed is a guy that people
yes.
should know. Jaden Reed's a guy. Yeah. He's a guy that I'm taking in the 3rd, but I'm prepared to take him in the 2nd once DC comes around, because I think that to me he's less flashy Zay Flowers. If you miss out on Zay Flowers, there's another guy that you can get right afterwards with similar traits. In Michigan State, that was a shit time watching Jaden Reed film, because that Michigan State, that's another bad quarterback, man. It's another quarterback that hurt my eyes for an hour.
Yeah, if I remember correctly, Jaden Reed had damn good stats too.
His reception perception is pretty green. His biggest problem is he doesn't have a lot of a sample size, because you got to think at Michigan State, you're mainly watching Kenneth Walker and Blake Corum film, essentially. I feel like when I watched his 2021 film, it was just Kenneth Walker left and right, and you're watching Jaden Reed doing a bunch of run blocking, and then he would get open on a nice inside release and then get overthrown or something like that.
Yeah, his quarterback didn't have eyes, and I said that in the film review I did.
Yeah,
there was a play. I'm like, if his quarterback had eyes, this is a touchdown, and he just waits for him to cross the entire end zone and then throws it away from him, and he can't catch. You're like, come on, dude! Like, this is unbelievable. He did have 1,000 yards and 10 touchdowns in 2021. It went down in 2022, but I think he didn't play as many games either. So I don't know exactly what happened there, injury or whatever. But when I watched him, I liked him a lot. I agree with most of what you said, and I'm wondering, the thing I didn't see on film a lot, and I think he does the things that we like. He's a good route runner. He's fast as hell off the line. Like he has real good control of his body through the route and everything. But I didn't really see a ton of yards after the catch and stuff like that could elevate him, which I guess to your point, he's like bargain brand Zay Flowers in that respect. But did you see that? Did you think that he was able to kind of create for himself after the catch?
Actually, I'm gonna read this off now as like a little preview, because that's what I have him as limited. Is he has okay contact balance, but he's not gonna blow the doors off anybody, and he's likely gonna go down as soon as you get some pause on him. And then the other thing that I think that he lacks is his catch radius isn't all that good, because even though
baby arms,
he's Emmanuel Sanders is my comp to him. Actually,
nice.
It's they're really good route runners. They got some speed and they can play all over the formation, but you got to kind of put it on them, or at least you can't expect to throw jump balls to him. He does have some of that, but it's not consistent, and you can't expect him to make that play like you would. Even I would say Jay Flowers or JSN, they make that play. Jaden Reed does not. So take that for what it is. That in a good situation with a quarterback that can consistently put him on him, I think he's going to be great. Because my notes for him is a solid route runner with elite burst and a technique at the line of scrimmage, has one of the best inside releases in the class, and consistently runs leverage over DBs. Isn't good enough hands catcher for consistent acrobatic catches, nor does he lack vertical help. Does, however, have modest body control, exceptional contact balance after the catch, but won't gain much yards due to strength. So
yeah, I mean, I love when film notes jive. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like
it makes you feel good.
It does. It makes you feel like you know what you're doing, and
Mm.
I do think we do have a good handle on what we're doing, clearly. And you can hear how kind of well refined those notes are too. I love that. Which part of that was I going to talk about real quick? Oh, the fact that I think part of it has to do with his frame, right? He's just, this entire class is small, so he's a smaller guy, like you're saying, like Emmanuel Sanders, but I think like the difference between him and Zay Flowers, and I'm just highlighting this to highlight why Zay Flowers is, I think, special in a way, is that Zay Flowers not big either, but he can make tight contested catches. He can make these crazy catches, and I'm not saying his hands are amazing and that he can like go up and get it like with his hand, but there's plays you see where he takes on two defenders downfield and he's strong. He's just got strength that he just holds himself upright and he's able to catch the ball. So there's just that's the difference, and I think that's why we like Zay Flowers so much, and that's what you look for. So I like Jaden Reed.
Yep, that's it on my guys pretty much. So
all right, well, I do have to say I got Jaden Reed at the 410 spot in that Dynasty Underdog draft. So these boys need to start doing their reserch and get right.
Yeah,
need to get right.
You guys got to read some stuff, man.
They need to listen to the pod. We're talking about these guys like every week. I'm telling you, I don't know what they're doing in there, bro. But yeah, definitely sign up for Dynasty Football Factory. Like, read some shit, man. What the you doing? Anyway, all right. So let's talk about let's trash somebody's trades in the Dynasty Underdog listener leagues. Why not? Right? Let's talk about it. Mm-hmm. So I want to know what you think about this draft season. Dynasty Underdog listener league 1.03, 1.12, and the 2.09 for the 1.04 and a 24 first. And I'd have to guess the 24 first just to give it something would be like mid-range.
Okay. I don't get it. I guess I get this sounds like the guy who had the 103 said, I don't like this class that much, so I want to punt for next year. Because like my question was going to be, is this 24 first top 5? Because then it makes sense.
I mean, it's possible, but it's unlikely that it's top 5. It's definitely not a lock for it.
Yeah, because like to me with 104, you could get Anthony Richardson or JSN, or I've even seen Bryce Young fall that low, and then you can get out of the 112 and then play again for next year, and then in that top 5 range, you could play for Caleb Williams, Drake May, Marvin Harrison Jr., or Travion Henderson. That's what makes sense to me. But if that 24 first is a mid, then what did you? I mean, I don't know. I guess it's fair. It's fair. I'll say it's fair. But
so you're more on the 103, 112 side.
Yeah, because
you'd rather the higher pick in the pick this year than wait another year and it be mid. Okay.
Because I can get the 24 first. I have a whole year to get the 24 first. You know.
Okay, I dig that. It is like it's a close trade, and it's interesting why I think the person probably is betting that it's a lower pick, but I know the team that traded that pick, and I don't think it's going to be that low. So,
and you got to think that's why they traded it, because they're like, well, I can get my guy now.
Yeah, that's true. And I don't love what's at the 112, but if you don't go after the quarterback there, you can get Zach Charbonnet there. There's other receivers you can get there probably. Mm-hmm. Like, I don't know. There's definitely good players you can get there. So I guess it's not a bad move. It's definitely an interesting one. Okay. Same league. I'm pretty sure same team that traded the 103 got the Justin Herbert side. Okay. So they actually acquired 224 first in the same day. These both happened the same day. Joe Burrow, 2.05, 24 second, and a 24 third for Justin Herbert and a 24 first.
I'm not gonna lie, this looks better now that the second trade adds context. So I get it now, because like now you have.
He's gonna love that you just said this. He's gonna love it. Oh my god.
Yeah. Now that I know that he's got multiple firsts, you have 3. I'm assuming he has his own first too. So he has
this
3
guy
shots.
He's a first hoarder, dude. He might have more than that.
Yeah, I get it. it looks better. It looks better. I know that this is why fantasy's weird, because the top trade alone, I lean the other way. But the fact that he did this other trade, I'm for it. I think it's kind of a baller move, because you still get an elite quarterback. He can. That's a good move. Whoever this guy is, I respect it. I see you.
He's heady. He's young and he's heady, dude. This kid knows he knows what he's doing. It bugs me sometimes. He tried to trade me 3 firsts for Justin Jefferson in this league, and I was like, they got to be the higher ones, and he's like, nah. And I'm like, we're not doing it then. Like, get out of here. Like, but he's over here trading Joe Burrow for, like, I love this trade for him. Honestly, I think getting Justin Herbert in a first is kind of a smash, no matter what you do here. I love Joe Burrow personally. I think he's a better quarterback, better dynasty asset, but how much? Not much, right? Like,
not much. You traded within the same tier, in my opinion,
right,
and acquired a higher asset player, for in my opinion, kind of for free. So
yeah. No, I love it. And I hate to say it, I do think Uriah might have given up Justin Herbert in that deal.
Oh, geez.
Sorry. I love you, man. Okay, so I want to know, I was up late night. I'll give you context around this. I was up late night, real late, after doing some film stuff, and I was like, I got to make trades. I want to make trades. And I'm like, and I only do it to improve my team, but I was like, this one league I need quarterbacks. And I'm like, Derek Carr and Chris Olave have to garner a good amount of value, right? Like, Derek Carr and Chris Olave, I have them on the same team, and I have a lot of other assets. Like, I have a ton of really good wide receivers, so I'm willing to give up Olave. I'm like, what do you need to add on to Derek Carr and Chris Olave to get to Jalen Hurts? And I have – go ahead from there.
Oh, no, keep going. Like,
well, I have a couple options that you could throw into there from this team to just give it a little more juice, right? So you could add to Carr and Olave maybe like an Amari Cooper, Tyler Lockett, Pickens, a 24-second, just for some options. How do you get to Jalen Hurts?
I need a little bit more context on the other team. Are they out, or are they trying to get back in? Because either way, I don't know, man. It, like, for me,
out in terms of what?
Are they competing or not? Because Carr,
they're competing. They were, okay, I believe, a top 4 team last year.
What's their other quarterback? Do you know?
I could check right now. Yeah.
Because right now you're getting an elite young receiver, and that makes sense. But if they don't have any receivers and they're competing, I would want Amari Cooper. But if you're rebuilding, the second is more lucrative. But assuming you're getting Hurts, you're going to
Trevor Lawrence and Jordan Love are the other 2.
Okay. I think Olave, Carr, and a second might get it done, but I don't know. Yeah. If I'm them, I wouldn't do it. So I hope they're not listening. So.
They totally are going to listen to this. Totally going to listen to this, because these are the listener leagues. So they're this is the downfall of me in these listener leagues, is not only do they hear this, but they know like my tactics and strategies. So like it is, but it's fun because it like makes me like really have to like work for it.
You got to try now, man, because I'm having that. I'm having that now too. I'll try to like send a shitty trade that I know is bad, but they're like, you wouldn't do that. And they'll like pull my own tweets, and I'm like, okay, yeah.
I'm telling you, literally, he's gonna send me a clip of this podcast and be like, no, you didn't say that was enough. So okay, all right, cool. I appreciate you for walking through that with me. I like that. Okay, so we have another Dynasty Underdog Listener League trade. I think this was in DU2. Actually, I think it was in DU3. It was in DU3, our newest one. 3.08 for Tyquan Thornton and the 4.09.
Okay. That's I'm happy to get the 308.
Really? I'm kind of surprised to hear you say that. Wow.
I don't like Tyquan Thornton. I don't like
Tyquan Thornton either. With 308?
But the 308, I can get Sam Laporta with the 308. Okay. You know,
okay.
Like there's stuff I can. Yeah, there's stuff I can get that I actually like for a 308. Like Tyquan.
You're like, I don't have to look at my roster and hate myself. Like,
yeah, exactly. Like Tyquan Thornton, that is the exact trade I would throw at someone to trade back in to the 3rd round, because I've only done one rookie draft that was early, and I was aggressive about trading back into the third round a couple of times. And I'm like, hey, you want this trash? Hey, how about this? You know, so I did.
These drafts, wait, these drafts were actual drafts, but just pre NFL draft.
Yeah, I've only done one. That's pre-NFL. I
Oh.
try to do two, man. I try to do two. They're fun. I don't do all of them like that. I'm not like the asshole guys who like you're only an alpha if you do it.
I swear, can't stand it. It's just that's really difficult. I mean, you have to be really convicted, but I guess it is. I'm sure it is kind of fun doing it that way and trying to beat the clock. You know,
I'm not gonna lie, not trying to be shitty. One reason I pushed for it is because I had 3 first-round picks. So I'm like, okay, you know,
I can make the most of this for sure.
Yeah, like my chances are pretty good if I do this now.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, it's basically me and one other guy that like monopolied half the picks. So we're like, it doesn't really matter because you guys are playing for our scraps. So
it's really up to us. Like it's not really up to you anyway. So we've already made our picks. Like don't even worry about it. Oh my goodness. All right, let me hop into the Discord here. I didn't get this question prepared. Let me go back because I did ask and somebody said something. Okay, so Superflex Tight End Premium 2.0. Lucky championship team, but deaf middle team that needs to pick a direction. Okay, so gave Lamb received London, Goff, Higbee.
When? Yeah, because like
when did this happen?
No, it's a win. It's a win. Like
a win.
Like,
a win.
Yeah,
got it. Yes.
Getting Goff in London, that's that's a win because what getting London is to me that's a plus move right there.
Okay.
Considering the upside that London has, I've cooled off a little bit on London because I don't believe in whatever the fuck Arthur Smith is doing at the quarterback position. Doesn't look like he wants to throw the ball, but if he does, Drake London can be a pretty good at catching it. And then on the flip side, I like Jared Goff as a low end QB2. With QB1 upside, and you can always flip Jared Goff for another elite asset or another elite receiver. Like I could trade Jared Goff right now and get, pretty good receiver. So
yeah, wow, this team was a lucky championship team. And this is crazy. It's Superflex has Jared Goff, Trey Lance, Andy Dalton, Brock Purdy. Like
and they won.
They won somehow. They won this league. I don't know how they won this league, but I'm trying to see what else they have here. I don't even see anything. What do you have? I don't know how you won this league. I don't know.
Mike Evans? Did they get lucky with Mike Evans or something like that?
I'm looking. Like Stephon Diggs, David Montgomery.
What?
Michael Pittman, Terry McLaurin.
Did the other team die? Championship?
The other team. I don't even know. But, all right, here's another one. Gave Keenan. Well, it had Lamb on it before, and it had Keenan on it before too. So I don't know. I mean that whatever. Anyway, gave the same team. Gave Keenan and the 3.12 received Alec Pierce in the 2.11. I don't love that one. What do you think?
I don't either. I think I could have got Keenan for something better. I don't know.
For
like
sure.
you could add Keenan. You could add Keenan plus to get something that is going to help you win more than whatever.
Yeah, he also had the one. He also has the 112. He could have probably packaged the 112 with Keenan and either got up in the draft or gotten something he really liked.
Nailed it. I was like, you got the 112. Oops, sounds like you're going to trade up a tier. That's what I would have done because
he's not lying. He has the 112. He won. I don't know how.
Yeah. The 112. That's the ugly range. Like to me, the 112 through 205, you're trying to trade up or back most of the time. So I don't know.
All right. Well, we actually talked about that on the factory tour with Paul. He asked me about the picks, and I'm like, dude, I try not to waste my time with those middle to not middle, but like the end, like 107, 108 and on. I try to either move up or move out or go get a really good player with them because it's just kind of a purgatory area. It's hard to kind of really navigate, Yeah,
it's nothing sexy right now. Like Josh Downs, I kind of like. But after that, like, okay, come get Will Levis so I can get other value that I believe in.
Yep. Push the other guys down. Push the other guys down.
Yeah.
Totally. Awesome. All right. Well, Jagger, that's gonna do it for us, dude. Like, you crushed it. You always do crush it, and I always have like the best time with you. So I'm really glad we got to do this.
Mm-hmm.
I know that at Dynasty Football Factory we're dropping the rookie guide, and it's a collaborative effort. But you've really led the charge on that, and really created that whole beast. And it's going to be an awesome guide. So I'm stoked for that. Everybody needs to look for that. Go follow him at Fantasy Blue Chip on Twitter. Sign up for Dynasty Football Factory so you can read all his awesome content and read that. Is there anything else that you got going on or you have going on in the future you want to mention here? Just giving you the floor. If not, we'll get on out of here.
Nothing, man. I'm only thing I've got planned is a bunch of draft content, man. Like I've like during the draft, I'm on like 4 live streams that day. So if you guys want to hear me talk more rookies
Simultaneously, right? At
yeah,
the same time.
Oh yeah, I'm gonna have multiple cameras on. I'm basically gonna look like Adam Schefter doing free agency or something like that. So I'm in purgatory for draft until it's done. So I'll tell you guys the future once that's over. So
Awesome. So yeah, if you want draft content, follow Jagger, follow me, and tune into Dynasty Underdog next week. So join the Discord. Thank you everybody for listening. You can catch us on Twitter at Dynasty Underdog, at Uriah Dawkins, at Willie Beam DFF, at Josh M Goldberg 92, and like I said, catch Jagger on Twitter at Fantasy Blue Chip. Peace out, fam.
see it.